Welcome everyone to the Dragon's Roost. I'm your host Sam, and today is episode 1. What an exciting time to be alive. New events, new units, and here to talk about it with me are my lovely co-hosts, JakChoy.
What's up, guys? I'm the moderator for the Dragalia Lost Discord. Some other gacha games that I've played are Grand Blue Fantasy, Azure Lane, and Fire Emblem Heroes.
Clocks.
Hello, my name's Clocks. I consider myself a gacha veteran. Gachas I've played include Fantastica, Defender of Texel, which is now defunct. If you recognize that or even me from there, give me a shout out. Valkyrie Connect, and now Dragalia Lost.
And our sound intern, Reala.
Hey guys, Reala here. I was previously a FGO memer and streamer, but now I've been officially changed after I discovered the Lost of Dragalia.
And I'm Sam, and I have no noteworthy accomplishments other than the fact that I'm the host of this podcast. And I was arbitrarily chosen, because I have the best voice.
By yourself.
Self-chosen, excuse you.
I mean...
He's self-voted himself to be host, so
I mean...
here we are.
What
Quote,
better
I nominate
man?
myself.
We're already off to a great start. So.
I mean, okay, this week we have a lot to cover. We have a new raid event, Kindness and Captivity, tons of new units from the Desert Jewel banner, and we gotta tell these people whether or not they should pull or not on the banner. So, Kindness and Captivity, new raid, there's a lot of great stuff in it. Bunch of mana and rupees, things that we really need to raise our units, and a nice amount of Twinkling Sands. Overall, I think the raid is kind of cool. I'm really enjoying fighting the boss. I think it's a little bit different than Frey. I mean, I have some qualms about the reward structure. I mean, Jack, how are you liking the event?
I definitely have to say it's better than the Halloween event. I feel like Nintendo / Cygames took a wrong step with that one, because the game is kind of focused towards multiplayer, but that one didn't have any. So I feel like that was kind of like a dry desert of content. But now that we have this new event, I feel like everyone's kind of up and at it again. Everyone's excited for the event. Personally, I haven't gotten too far in the grind yet. I've like just beaten the special like once or twice. And I feel like it's pretty fun. There's not too many new mechanics. I wish they would introduce newer boss mechanics, but hopefully we'll be seeing more of that in the future.
So I just want to piggyback off what you said about the facility Halloween event. The previous gacha games I played, typically the events lasted a week, so yeah, everything felt more fast paced. But from what I've figured, people can correct me. I don't know if anyone here has played Grand Blue, which is Cygames' other popular gacha.
I've played it for about like a year.
Right. So don't they have 3 types of events? So we've seen raid, facility, and then there's a thing that people are speculating called maze. So it's not like facility is gonna disappear. I just hope that they do tweak it like they tweak the raid.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really compare the events on Dragalia Lost to Grand Blue Fantasy because there was no facility system in that game. I think the raids there are just like completely different. But yeah, I do agree with you that they definitely need to tweak facility events if they're gonna keep it in.
One of the main issues with the previous event that I found is that I feel like the time limit was kind of constrained. I was busy that particular week, so that means it was really difficult for me to obtain that last Twinkling Sand from the Trick or Treats reward, and unfortunately I didn't end up getting it. So maybe if they were to do another facility event, I would definitely want it to be as long as one of the new raid events, because I think it was a difference between like 12 and 8 days for the other one.
Yeah, yeah.
I think, well, one issue I had was how much of a grind it felt, despite having an event Wyrmprint and, decent units for doing the challenge mode. I think if I had to give a suggestion, it would be, you guys remember it was 10 stamina per run, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh my god, and it's like if you leveled up or you refilled your stamina or, you had been sleeping or something and say you had 70, 80, 90 stam, and those runs took, 2-3 minutes. If you could do, a 20 or 30 stam run for double or triple the rewards, I think it would be far less of a grind. So that's what I would change.
To me, right now, this event feels like the game's like kind of relaunched. I think the Halloween event, in the first few days, like, the public sentiment felt like, oh, hey, this is kind of cool. We get a new facility. We get free facility levels. I'm kind of liking this little challenge we have with the waves. But then you got to like day 4, day 5 of the event, and then people are like, what is going on? Like, I'm just sitting here killing this Pumpkin King over and over again.
Yeah, and that's everything that you have to kill, right? Every boss battle or every challenge battle has to do with killing that Pumpkin King, and I think that's where half the fatigue comes from, right? Because at least with your raid events, you have a boss and the raid battle, right? And those are two separate boss battles. But when it came to the Halloween event, no matter what, at the end of that quest, you knew you were going to be fighting the Pumpkin King.
So fun fact, the first I went to 850,000, which I forget what the reward for that was. It was the golden key fragment, I think, which was one of the last few big rewards aside from the sand. I got there, sweat and tears, using my stamina, playing the waves, killing the Pumpkin King, etc. And then someone told me, "Hey, you have a Julieta, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "You can just hit that auto button and it will get you to wave 5 but not kill the Pumpkin King. But you'll still get like, I don't know, I was getting like 6 to 7k. What was it? What were they called? Trick or treats instead
yeah.
of the 9 to 10k I was getting from, manually playing the game. And I was like, well, dang. So that's how I finished the event. But so I wouldn't say that's good design, really.
Interesting.
That I started autoing it, but
I feel like what sucked for a lot of people was that a lot of us didn't have light units, so we had to like build one from scratch. That was like me. I didn't have any light units, so I wasted a lot of time in the early days just like getting HL Sane and then trying to level her up. I feel like that was where I lost a lot of time. But the good
wow, look
news is
at this
that
guy leveling up his heli. Oh no.
but the good news is that with like GBF, they actually do a lot of reruns for these events. So I'd imagine we'd get like uh a rerun next year during Halloween, probably with like
Damn.
similar rewards. Yeah.
Waiting an entire year just so you could get your 30 facility for light
Well,
units.
to be fair, the next time we have a light advantage event, right, you'll be ready.
Oh yeah.
So we're having. I've had this issue. I mean, I don't know if I call it an issue, but when Fraganoth came out, and I have no 5-star water, I have no 5-star fire units even now. I had to raise, Solaria up. I had to raise Melsa up. There's always that like raising your units stage. But as time goes on and we get better units over time for the people that have been playing since earlier on, it'll get easier, I think.
I think what I love about this event though is that I can play with my friends again. And all those friends I made during the Fraganoth raid, I kind of had to like abandon them to do this solo event, and I didn't know. Like, everyone fell out of it. There were so many people that just were like, I'm not logging in, it's not fun. I mean, when the event is bad and you can't, like, play with your friends, and, like Jack said before, like, this
I mean,
event...
not all of us have friends, so can you check your privilege, please?
I mean, for those of us that do, I mean...
She's trying to flex on us.
I definitely I definitely agree with Sam. Like as a moderator, I saw actually a lot of decrease in activity for like talking about raids and stuff compared to like Fraganoth or this one. So I definitely feel like since multiplayer is such a big aspect of this game, they definitely need to focus that for events.
And as a gacha game, sorry to kind of get off topic here, but we'll eventually connect it back to raids. Just as a gacha game, the main thing that sets this thing apart from other things on the market right now is the fact that you can have the pleasure of doing these co-op events with friends that you meet on online communities. And I feel like that really emphasizes the importance of the Discord channel where you can, find other like-minded people to participate in these events with you. So that's why the raid battles have been the star hit so far in terms of the 3 events that we've seen in the game.
I'll tell you right now, and this is, again, completely anecdotal, my mornings on the raid, in the VC of the official Discord...
VC, you mean voice chat?
Yes, voice chat. VC. That's what us locals call it. We call it VC.
For me, VC stands for Valkyrie Connect, so I just wanted to clarify.
But every morning it was like literally like maybe 2 or 3 people. This was like the first morning that there was like 10 plus people. And I know in the grand scheme of things that's not a lot, but that's like A 200.
That's a lot of people talking all over each other. I'll tell
Yeah.
you that.
Well, we were split up into different groups when we started doing raids and stuff, but I mean,
It's yeah, the server dynamic definitely felt different between the
Well,
two
my
raids.
hope is that, I mean, we haven't even talked about the Gather Wing change, right? The double and the refill. My
Yeah.
hope is that the facility event, they won't have purely solo events going forward. I'm hoping that the reason they did that was because they were trying to figure out some way to, I guess, match incentives for hosting and, co-op. But we'll see, I guess.
now we have too many wings. I don't even know what to do with them all. They're just rotting in my inventory. I'm gonna quit the game before I use them all.
I had
Wow.
like 24 this morning, and I was like, what do I do? I can't even auto when I like do co-op, so like I can't even use them all. Yeah.
Cygames
Yeah, you
made
can
that
be.
announcement. It was so crazy. It was just like, by the way, we heard your feedback on the Gather Wings, so we're gonna give you every single Gather Wing that we can physically push out to you on our servers. And everyone's
Well,
happy now in terms
I
of
was
Gather Wings.
pleasantly surprised that they even back gifted us the wings, right? Like they could have just gone like, sorry, like back then you had 6 wings, you missed out, but instead they literally made up for every wing you missed out on, which honestly not all developers would have done that, and that's a pretty bold move from Cygames, I think.
There's definitely that one dude that logged in, this morning, and he looked at all the Ethan ashes he got, and he was like, "They only gave me 106? What?"
There was a post on Reddit of some Japanese guy who got 687 Ethan ashes. Now that's some impressive whaling, I'll tell you that much.
Whaling in terms of what?
687.
Whaling in terms of grinding? Or like the 30-day pack?
687? I don't even know. Like that must
How
have
do you
been.
get that many?
So that must have been whatever level he is. He's probably like 120 if he's a whale. Um, then that must have been, you can do 3 refills a day, so 3 refills times a month, which is a 90 at least. And then you have the recovery pack, which is another 6 per day, which is another 30. Honestly, I don't know if that was a Photoshop or what, because I don't know how you get to 687, but
As much as I'd like to talk about wild Japanese whales, we have a lot of units to talk about. First and foremost, we have Melsa, the free Fire Dagger 4-star from the event. She's built to kind of destroy the boss. Has Physian's Bane, 30%, 50% sleep res, and at 5 stars she gets Flurry Devastation, which is a bunch of crit for having, an increased hit count. Reala, have you got to play with the unit at all yet?
So I have very limited amounts because she hasn't been in my party, but from what I can tell, she seems pretty good. She has the sleep res as well, so she is very good for the event. And I do recommend anyone who is a little bit less on the fire unit side for them to really give her a try.
I mean, I tried to get 5-star fire units, and my only other fire unit that was raised up is Verica, and healers tend to not be good leaders for raid events. So I'm actually using leveled up Melsa, and I would say she's pretty dang good. I like the dagger playstyle, and melee actually I would say has an advantage in this event based on
Yeah. I was gonna bring
based
that up.
on
Yeah.
Hypnosis attacks. So
Mhm.
she's been good to me so far.
I mean, her character design is also to die for. She looks really adorable. So I mean, and that's the thing, right? That's why I'm so glad to kind of like jump on the Dragalia Lost train early, right? Because that means any limited event items are going to be in my inventory no matter like when I play. So as long as I keep on going with these events and getting the limited event items, that guarantees that I'm going to be having everything. And that's really kind of like the luster of getting into a new gacha game at a time like this.
So speaking about her character, because you mentioned her design, if you play Japanese, if you play with Japanese voices on, you might not know this. In the English version, she actually has this like weird, kind of funny French-ish accent. I think it's French anyway. She does have
Yeah.
a very weird like attack huffing that sounds like a dog panting, which I
I
don't
heard
like.
that. Yeah, I don't like it.
Ugh,
That's really
that
weird.
that might make me switch to Japanese voices, but the her like voice lines are actually kind of cute.
Her Japanese voice is actually really good. She's voiced by Uchida Aya, who's I think the most notable one is probably Kotori Minami from Love Live, which I'm sure a few of you guys listening might know. But yeah, her I feel like in general, Cygames and Nintendo has been doing an amazing job with like getting good voice actors for at least the JP voices, which is what I've been using so far.
My main problem is that I don't have my sound turned on, so I don't know how anything in the game sounds.
What?
It's just
What?
everyone.
What?
ev-
You don't have yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How do you
Yeah,
not have
so-
that?
That song sucks.
I have none of the volumes turned on. I mean,
What?
as
I
I
mean,
normally
you
I
saved
normally
your
play
ears
phone
with your
games.
raid battle there.
as
I
great.
normally don't. I play phone games normally without sound, but Dragalia is interesting. I usually turn my sound up for it, like
Yeah, because
unless I'm in public or something.
Dao
But
Daoko is a bop. I just want to put that out there. I've been
yeah.
listening
Oh
to
my
Daoko
god.
for so long before this game.
No,
When I saw the go for it, Sam.
I've added the title song to my Spotify playlist, and I've added
Mm.
Cinderella Step to my Spotify playlist. And I can't deny that the music is great, but I just don't really play games with their sounds on. Like that's just me. That's my
Well, me
take.
neither. But Dragalia is my exception.
Golly, it's
Yeah.
different. So just as a quick question, so we were talking about the Seiyu for Melsa. In Japanese, does she have the accent? Or is it just
No, she's just normal. I don't know why they decided to go with the French accent. That was just a really weird
I
decision on
don't
their
know.
part.
It's weird,
doesn't
but
seem-
weirdly endearing. I don't know.
Are
Because
any of the
maybe
other
because
like
she's there's all sorts of weird accent. Like Cleo has like a English accent.
Oh,
But, like
really? Huh.
it's like it's in. I think for Melsa you can do it. It makes sense because she's from a weird Sylvan village, that live by themselves. So you can just. It's kind of like being a foreigner, right? So I mean, why not?
I think my main gripe with Melsa, and I think this is something that a lot of launch players could agree on, is that there's so many of these launch players that do have Ezoliths. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't make fire daggers, like, down the line because Ezolith exists. My main thing is that it's a playstyle that was released, like, about, 4 weeks ago, right? This fire dagger type of playstyle. What I would have liked to see is, like, a unique playstyle, right? Like, there wasn't a water katana, right, at 5 stars or 4 stars with celery, right? And but my main problem with the celery banner, I know this is going kind of back, is that they released Orsum. And I know Orsum is great, but Luther already existed. So we're already seeing them like overlap these sort of playstyles that already exist.
Yeah.
I mean,
I definitely agree
any
with
weapon
that.
though is gonna have a similar play. Like, sorry to interrupt, Jack. Well, like I said, I'm one of those people who doesn't have an Ezolith, and I did play Orsum. I do like the dagger play style, so Melsa's my fire dagger, and as I said, she's really good for melee. So, like, what are our melee options? Axe, blade
Axe, yeah,
again,
blade. Spear
sword.
is kind of long, but it's still melee.
Sword, we have Yuden, right? So he's like the main, like fire sword, I
Yeah.
guess, and then I
That's the
guess you
other
could have had the
thing.
lance.
Is like with this banner, they all had characters that replaces another. Like Naveed basically replaces Yuden and Carl. Uh,
Uh,
and then Ezolith and like this one. They have the
we
same
did get a
passives
new
too, which is what
we did get
bothers
a
me.
new fire 4-star wand. So that was a
That
big
is
new
new,
unit.
yeah. But yeah, going back to Melsa, like she has the same team passive, which also bothers me, which means that I can't use her with Ezolith, if I want to like utilize her team passive. So that I wish they would at least change that bit up, even if they
Oh, that's
like
a good
yeah.
point.
But
That's the one. Or go ahead if you're gonna finish what you saying.
yeah, I was just kind of looking forward to like getting new type of like weapon units, but like when I realized that she was a fire dagger, I was like, oh, I guess she'd be like pretty similar to Ezolith.
Me personally, I would have liked if the fire staff and the fire dagger, Sonoa and Melsa were swapped, right? We had Melsa on the banner, and we had
And the reason
Sinnoh for free.
the reason I disagree is, like I said, this raid seems very it's easier as melee. So if they had given Sonoa as the free unit, I feel like people would be having a lot harder trouble playing through the raid as a wand user. But I don't know, maybe someone's out there maining some kind of wand or range character that they could comment on.
One main thing that's kind of concerning me in terms of Cygames for Dragalia Lost is kind of like the innovation problem. So, of course, we're seeing this playstyle issue where we have characters with overlapping playstyles. They have a little bit of different skills, they have a little bit of different in game attacks and abilities. But overall, like let's say 2, 3, 4 months down the line, how is Cygames really going to handle innovating their content in terms of like in-game battles and raids? Because if we see this go on for much longer, I'm not going to say it's like a huge issue, but that's one thing that we really have to consider and be cognizant of as a community. What can Cygames really do in order to make these playstyles different?
I would actually say that this banner is probably has a lot of innovation in it. Actually, I think Naveed's skill set is pretty unique, and I think Sonoa is pretty unique as well, but troubling. And we'll get to that when we get to her. But I do think that I don't think innovation is going to be the problem. What I do think is going to be the problem is this fun factor, right? Because all the swords, regardless of like how they, how their skills interact and whatnot, they still play kind of the same. All the daggers, no matter what their skills are, they still kind of play the same, right? And I think that's where the problem is going to come out of, where we're kind of like playing these characters and we're like, there's only like really 7 types of characters I can play. And that's where I think the problem is going to come into.
Well, I
Unless,
think that's where like supports and like attacks and defense type of characters come in. We haven't seen like a tank character, I don't think, except for I guess Hildegard and Julieta. But other than that, I think more tank characters would be nice and like change up the gameplay.
I think one unit that we've been bringing up a few times, and we should probably be getting into now, is Naveed. Naveed is a 5-star sword character. He's on the banner.
He's a hottie.
He has a
Yeah,
weird.
I'm not wrong.
He
Female
has
gacha
a,
game players.
he has a weird mustache. That's all I'm gonna say.
He's a husband, though, and one thing I respect is that it's not all waifus all the time. There's some good male characters that Dragalia has.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm definitely glad that they didn't release like another girl this round, because I feel like a lot of people are complaining about that, and I'm glad they actually decided to release a male character.
They do a lot of in gacha games. It seems like there's a trend where they just try to pander to males, of course, because that's their main demographic. But I'm glad that they aren't really falling down that trap, because it shows that they at least have a little bit of dignity for the game that they're putting out. They don't want that much money, but that's when they had to put Cerberus in the same banner, right? It's just like, okay, well, if you don't want to roll for Naveed, you can roll for this a dragon. That's
Yeah,
not really
I mean,
a
the
dragon
banner
that
has Cerberus, Sonoa, Vita, and you get Melsa for free, so that's, 4 girls versus a guy. But still, the guy is pretty good looking, and he's the new 5-star, so...
Before we get into it more, though, just a quick overview of the unit, just in case people don't know what he does. So, Naveed has 2 skills that play around with one another. His one is... okay, so I'll refer to 1 as his first skill, and 2 as his second skill, for all future episodes. If future episodes do come. So his 1 deals 5 hits of 170% flame damage. This is directly ahead of him. But if he uses his 2 ability gives him himself 15% defense. This goes up with skill value or whatever. But it also empowers his 1. And his 1 checks how many times you've used the 2, and it does more damage based on that. So it can go up to some insane percentage, but it's kind of like, he's kind of like Xander in a way, where as the fights go on, as you kill more and more enemies, he's gonna start doing more and more damage. And he comes with a pretty good set of passives. He has 75% skill prep, he has Slayer Strength 6%, and 100% Sleep Breath. I think he's a cool take on Xander, right? Like, how Xander uses all those enemies that he kills to buff up his strength, because you're stacking the Slayer's strength, you're stacking the Force Strike Slayer's strength, whatever that's called. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But then you use his one to like completely wreck everything. But this, I think it's a nice play, because you don't need the enemies to stack up your one.
Alright, so Savid, or Naveed, I'm sorry, I just call him Savid.
Savid. That's right. Someone earlier called him Khalid, and I'm like, okay.
Khalid. I really do like the Radiant Bubble, the fact that you can enhance your skill 1, and I do like how as the fight goes on and as it kind of gets more intense, you do have a stronger skill to sort of rely on. And back to kind of like the Xander analogy, I do like how they're making kind of like different element, I wouldn't say like clones, but different elements, like similar playstyles to kind of bounce off of. And of course that kind of makes me seem like I'm a hypocrite, because I did talk about the similar playstyles with the same element, but I do like when they kind of branch out and make these kind of similar playstyles with different elements of the game.
Yeah, I guess that's how we'll be seeing variety in this game. Is just like how the skills can change depending on the characters and like what maps types they're good in. Like obviously Xander is really good for I would say like the one with, I'm blanking out right now. I feel like Xander's just good in general.
Onslaught?
Yeah, Onslaught. There you go. I feel like Xander's really good with Onslaught, where like he can kill smaller enemies in a short amount of time and basically buff up his damage. But then I feel like Naveed is good for bosses. So they all have like their different utilities, and I really like that they're giving that variety.
It's interesting because I was looking at discussion on Naveed, and someone actually pointed out that they thought Naveed works better in Onslaught than something like Midgard or even High Midgard, because his skills take a while to reach their full potential, right? So in Onslaught, you're killing
Ah,
stuff for quite a bit of time, whereas some of the other boss fights, maybe you don't have as much time to charge up your skills. I don't have experience using Naveed or even Xander, so I can't really comment on how fast they charge, but it's definitely I definitely agree that certain units are gonna have advantage in certain aspects of the game over others.
that's true. Yeah. Actually, I didn't think about that. That his skill would take a while to charge.
I mean, for the most part, though, I think Naveed is a very very good unit. I think he has a lot of applications. I think the only thing kind of holding him back from like super high level play, like we're talking high Midgard, right, is the sleep res. But I'm hoping Cygames shows a little bit of you know love to all these fire sleep res characters and puts in like a really hard sleep res fight so these guys can shine. I
Yeah.
think the more interesting unit out of all the units that were released is Sonoa, and I think we should definitely spend some time talking about her, because it is the introduction of RNG into
Yes, I
our
wanted to talk about that. The whole RNG thing. Actually, Cygames is not in like new grounds with that. There's actually a unit in Grand Blue Fantasy who's basically has like a random percentage to buff up certain amounts. Like it's RNG. Like you can either get like one buff or two buff or three buff, but that's like based on like percentages. So I feel like they're definitely using some of that like RNG element on this new character, but in like a different way.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, Sonoa has a 1 that can proc 1 of 4 buffs. It can either be a 20% strength buff, a 20% defense buff, a 20% crit buff, or a 10% max HP buff. And now, one thing to note is that literally all these buffs are the best in class of their buffs. Like,
So excuse me for a sec. Was that skill maxed, or is that like level 1 of the skill, or what are those numbers?
that's from the maxed.
Okay, just checking.
So, but the main thing is these are like best in class buffs for each of their respective buffs, right? This is like the best crit buff, the best strength buff, HP buff, and whatnot. So she's definitely an interesting unit. Reala, what do you think about her?
I really do like her design. And I think this kind of RNG kind of mentality when making these games kind of adds a new level of excitement, because obviously you have the gacha pulls, which are very addictive and also very exciting, But also imagine popping her into into a high Midgard Super trial, where you're really banking on one of the three buffs to really be applied in that trial, and maybe that skill could make or break you actually beating high Midgard. So I think that this kind of design is something that I want to see in the future, and based on Jack's comment, where RNG is a thing in other side games, gacha games, I definitely do want to see it in the future.
So, and I'll note that she'll definitely synergize well with units that get a bonus from having a buff on them.
Yes, for
Um,
sure. Yeah.
that's Xander, right? Doesn't his main attack like depending on
Yeah,
I
depending on
don't
how many
own
buffs you have, his one of his skills increases in terms of damage.
now. Granted, she's fire, Xander's water, so you're gonna have to choose a place where they can work together. But I'm sure we'll see other units where that kind of thing, where you can find combinations like that might actually work out pretty well.
Yeah, yeah.
I kind of want to comment on what Reala said before. How my main problem with her as a unit is that what if you don't get the buff that you need, right? Say if it's easy content, the buffs don't matter, right? But when it's something hard, say if you continually roll defense buffs, right? And you need the damage to clear the boss. So that's why I'm thinking, like, is she just a fun unit or is she actually very good? You know?
I I think we'll have to wait for someone to fully build her to like actually understand her potential. I feel like it's a bit premature to judge like her usage because of her RNG just yet. Who knows? Like maybe these numbers are so ridiculous that they actually do make a big impact no matter what. Or maybe she can pop off her skills so often that like it doesn't matter which one you'll get the offense buff eventually.
Or there might be some types of battles in the future where it doesn't matter how many times you need to clear something. Maybe you just need to clear it once to get some sort of specialty reward or Wyrmite. And because her buffs are so good, it doesn't matter how many trials you really have to do. As long as you have one good run where you get the RNG that you want the way you want it, that's a real potent thing in this type of game where you can just kind of clear a boss battle and kind of cheese it out that way through the luck of RNG.
Yeah, I'm honestly kind of against like relying purely on RNG for game mechanics, but I'm open if they make it interesting with like different game mechanics where like maybe some one thing can affect her skills and like change up the percentages or something like that. Even that would be pretty interesting.
I mean, I do agree that I feel like if you're at a stage where you're relying on an RNG skill to clear a level, you're gonna have to rethink your strategy and bring someone else. Now, I'm not saying that she's benched because of that to only being a fun unit. Like I said, I think she'll have some interesting synergies, but we'll definitely have to see if people figure out either that niche use where those buffs matter or whether she's just someone you bring along, for extra power, but not necessarily, like overall clearing speed. I don't know.
I'm actually
Let's
trying to get her
see.
to level 80, so hopefully or level 70, I guess.
Ooh.
Yeah. So hopefully maybe next podcast I can go deeper onto my experiences with using her. So I guess the next unit is Vita.
Yeah, so Vita is the new 3-star. She is a Dark Dagger, much like one of my favorite units, Orion. But she has a couple of interesting things going on. Her first ability is a shadow sort of hit, 2 hits, nothing to write home about. But her second ability actually increases the damage of her 4 strikes and lets them proc blind. She has extra 4 strike damage on her kit, some stun resistance, totaling out to about 75%. Overall, I think she's falls into like that middling 3-star range. She does something kind of cool, but would you use her over Orion? I mean, Orion's a pretty accessible unit, being
No,
a 4-star.
Yeah, that's the thing.
thing.
Is like since Orion
Man.
is a thing, I feel like I'd just rather use Orion over her.
Man, this unit honestly feels like just like an oversight from the developers. They're like, oh crap, we have a Fire Banner coming up, and we forgot to develop Vita. She's a 3-star dagger unit for Dark. Oh, just shove her in there. Hope no one notices.
I don't think I don't like when people say like, oh, they must have been time crunched, so they threw something in. Even for English, like the amount of lines that any character, even 3 stars, have, like just for all the different types of attack, heal. Oh, we found a rare enemy. Oh, I'm walking in the nighttime. I'm walking in the daytime. I'm in the cat. I'm going on and on and on and on. Like they put effort even into these 3 stars. Now, whether she's worth using, personally, I would tell people that unless she's like massive waifu status for you, and this goes for any unit, as a 3 star, there's better units to look at. You probably have 4 stars or 5 stars you should be focusing on.
And I think the final unit, and my favorite unit from this banner, is Cerberus herself, the 5-star dragon, 40% strength. And she does a bunch of things. Her abilities do a ton of things. It deals 7 hits of 110%.
They do things, do they?
Yeah. It does.
She has
It
skills.
does. It does approximately 9 things. 10 things?
Whoa.
Because it does 7 hits of 110% flame damage. Yes. It inflicts burn, so that's the 8th thing. The 9th thing, it reduces strength by 5% for 10 seconds. And the 10th thing is reducing defense by 5% for 10 seconds.
That's pretty
Nice.
good, yeah. So I guess she's like the silk fortifier. I didn't look too much into this unit, so I guess Sam's like the
I
pro
mean,
here.
all I know is she's not a dragon, folks. She is not a dragon. And she has puppies / puppy gauntlets. I'm not sure what's going on over there.
Scapegoats from
It's-
Yu-Gi-Oh.
It's
Those
because
are
yeah,
those are her other heads. She's Cerberus.
yeah. It's Cerberus from
Oh.
the Greek
So,
mythology.
so are her hands actually puppies?
I think so. They should be.
And what are the implications of that?
She just has 3 heads. I mean that's how Cerberus from the Greek mythology worked. Is like he was just
yeah,
It just
but
has
the
3
Cerberus
hands.
is a scantily clad dragon, non-dragon.
Design aside, in terms of Cerberus, this is actually really exciting for someone like me who's really been enjoying Cygames' other products in gacha games. Cerberus is actually originally from Cygames' original card game, Rage of Bahamut, who was then moved over to Shadowverse, and now she's here. So, do you think that this is kind of a premonition to other Cygames collab units being added to Dragalia Lost in the future?
I mean, 300%. Lily, I know, was from, I don't know, she's been in a bunch of their games. People might know that Cygames had this really old game that didn't do very well because this was when they were first starting out. Was it Knights of Glory or
Yeah, nice
I
like
forget.
glory.
So there's some people that have posted, albums of photos from Knights of Glory, and because that game had dragons, that game had a lot of dragons, and we've seen a lot of those designs in Dragalia Lost right now. But I'll say this is amazing because so far the dragons have been great, and seeing them in Dragalia Lost style is, I don't know, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I definitely love because the other benefit of that is because they developed their characters out for so long, they know what they're doing with these characters. Like they know what they're gonna act like, they know who's gonna voice them. Like they can just like import all these like high quality characters, and I love that they're doing that. The other thing that I want to mention is that Cygames is amazing at doing collabs with like even like anime and just like games in general. Is Grand Blue Fantasy had a ton of those, and I'm sure will be I don't know how Nintendo feels about collabs, but if
There
Cygames
was actually a tweet recently where Nintendo, I think, or some kind of conference where Nintendo said that they're not really looking to insert Nintendo IP into
yeah.
Dragalia, so I don't see that happening. But other
Yeah,
collabs, yeah, we're a go.
yeah, definitely sad that we're not going to be seeing Nintendo collabs, but hopefully we'll be seeing.
No, no
Yeah,
more, no Mario in my Dragalia Lost. What?
Mario, a 5-star dagger adventure. It's going to be another dagger 5-star.
Mario is going to be the first character to use his fists. Thank you very much.
And
And
it's going to
then,
be the start of the brawler class.
And
yeah,
then we have
Oh my gosh.
listen, I'm telling you right now, if Link doesn't somehow make it into the game, maybe not this year,
Ooh.
maybe not next year, But come on, maybe 4 years
2021.
from now. Yeah,
Wow.
2022, give me Link. Wind
A
Sword.
wind sword unit. Yeah, that'd be
Yes.
nice. Wind sword unit. There you go.
And make his 4-strike the spin attack. Do that. Do that
Listen,
for
I'm
me,
not
Cygames.
saying we're gonna have Link, but I'm just saying if there's a wind sword unit that just happens to have blonde hair and green clothing and a funny little hat. I mean, who's
It's gonna
to
be known
say,
as Link.
right?
The thing about this, hold on, I was gonna say something, but it's losing. But I'm gonna find it again. No, I lost it. Never mind.
It's fine.
So move on.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bro, I'm picking up what you're putting down. Not really.
Oh wait, hold up. I got it. I remember it. All right, so Nintendo claims that they don't want to do any collabs, but then Cygames is going to show Nintendo some projected earnings or like some predicted earnings if they put Link in the gacha, and then they'll instantly be on that crap. They're going to sign those contracts, and Link's going to be in the game. Calling right now.
Well, on the other hand, Nintendo took this long to even come out with a Pokemon on mobile.
But-
Nintendo's a very slow-moving company, is all I'm saying.
They're
I-
slow, but like they know what they're doing and they're careful about it for sure.
They're a very careful company.
But
so
I
we'll
feel
see
like
what happens.
I feel like because Fire Emblem Heroes did so well, they're definitely open to making like new mobile games.
The one thing that I'm waiting for.
Well, no, that's bad. We want to stick with Dragalia. What you talking about?
Hey. Regardless. The one thing that I want, and as a Cygames fan, that I need in this game, they need to release Albert as an adventurer.
Yes.
No, No, I'm sorry, but before Albert, they need to release Mim. And I
Albert?
promise you, if they release Mim, I will wail so hard for her.
Listen, Mim doesn't have like the history that Albert does.
Yeah, but I didn't play those games. Mim's so cute.
Albert Levin's champion. I mean, he literally is my favorite card from Shadowverse. And he's he's definitely my favorite card from Shadowverse. I've casted so many Alberts.
Albert, I don't know much about him, but he's what? He's like a grown-up mutant, right? So I'm sure we'll see him down the line.
And
okay, go for it.
no, wait.
Go on.
I'm just gonna say, there's a reason that the kingdom is called Alberia.
Oh my.
Ooh.
Because
Speculation
Albert is
time.
gonna come and be the true king.
I was gonna mention
Okay.
that Xander is already like a grown-up mutant, basically. Just my thoughts, but they both have
Okay.
spiky blonde hair. I mean, come on.
Can you really call him a grown-up though? A guy that just like
Hey, he knows how to do his own laundry. Hello, and I don't mean to offend anyone, but I know the kind of people that play gacha games. If you don't know how to do your own laundry, ask your parents to teach you how, and you can be an adult.
So we
Easy
still have a ton of things to talk about, and we don't have that much time in the show left. But should you pull or not pull on this banner? We're gonna go around the table and take some votes. We'll start with Clocks. How do you feel? Should you pull or not pull?
pull? So I have pulled on this banner. I did 9 times 10 pulls. I did not have very good luck, unfortunately.
Fine.
Now-
Nintendo.com/ClockSpark. Go check it out. Come subscribe.
That plug, why? Thank you. Yes, I do have a gotcha pull video up. However, my feelings aside on my own luck, you should pull if you don't already have, and this was my reasoning. You don't have a 5-star fire unit, so if you don't have Ezolith or Makoto, you should consider pulling. I didn't have those or a fire dragon, so for me, all these new units were, a good deal. And the rest just depends. Are you free to play? Do you have money to spend? Do you want to pull? Do you if you have Ezolith or Makoto, I kind of really wouldn't. But other than that, I would give it a try.
I did pull, and interestingly enough, I did not. I had Ezolith, I guess, as my 5-star character, but I did not have a 5-star dragon, so I decided to pull for Cerberus, and it got Mikoto, and I was actually really happy about that because I know how much damage he deals. But I guess my general advice for this banner would be if you don't have a 5-star fire hero, and if you don't have a 5-star dragon, either Agni, I would say pull. And especially if you don't have Phoenix, that's another big one. Is like Phoenix is like honestly, I think
Yeah,
Phoenix is
Phoenix
definitely
is
like,
rayed up.
yeah, like she's right up, and like she's like basically tier 0 dragon. Like she has the most utility, arguably, out of all the dragons. So
I
definitely get
do
her.
want to add, Jack, just to what you're saying, never, ever, ever pull for a specific unit. And that includes the 4-star featured up. That includes Phoenix. So if you have all this other stuff and you're like, oh, I want Phoenix, I'm gonna pull for Phoenix, don't do it. I did, and you know, everyone's luck differs. I did 90 pulls. Out of those 90 pulls, I did get one Phoenix. Now, is 90 pulls for one Phoenix worth it? I would
It's up for
think
you to
most
decide.
people would say no.
It all depends if you have this a really special item in your inventory called a credit card.
Is
I
it?
feel like
Is it?
that's a very big part.
I was about to ask if it's called the luck seed, actually, but
The luck seed.
Reala, what's your vote, man?
Alright, so I'm gonna preface this by saying it's awfully scary that we don't know what's coming in terms of limited characters in Dragalia Lost.
scary but exciting.
Scary but exciting. So, given off the fact that I don't believe anything in this banner is limited and will be added to the gacha pool in the future, is that correct?
That's what we saw with Lily, so I'm guessing yes.
Alright,
Yeah, I'm
so
guessing they'll be added.
assuming that, I feel like this is the part of the game where we need to start acting rather conservatively if you don't want your bank to burn every month. If nothing in this banner is currently limited, I'd recommend you pull a couple times, see if you get what you want. I was very lucky. I did a couple single pulls and pulled Sanoa, and that's the main character that I really wanted from this banner. So I'm backing out, and I'm not going to pull going forward on this
So
banner.
I actually, yeah. Now that Reala's mentioned that, thinking back to Fraganoth, like I said, I didn't have 5-star water units, and Solaria did just fine. I didn't get any 5-star or any impressive fire units this time around. Melsa's doing just fine. So you definitely do not need to spend money on this banner if you want to do well in the event. So that is definitely one reason to not pull on the banner.
For sure, yeah.
My take on it is, and I'm just going to put my vote out there, yes, you should pull on this banner. And the main reason is Phoenix and Sanoa, I think, are two of the most prized things from this banner. And it's nice when a 4-star is the thing that you would want from the banner, because every 10-fold is going to give you a guaranteed 4-star. And I know, you know, nothing is guaranteed, but I think Phoenix is such a great addition. Even if you pull her in multiples, it's awesome to have her.
Oh, if you pull her in multiples, okay. I do want to say luck is a funny thing. On Halloween banner, I did around 110 pulls, and I only got the 3-star featured unit Halloween Edward around my 108th pull on a daily summon. So, never pull for a specific unit.
Luck is definitely like weird. For me personally, I've only bought like starter packs, but so I've been doing single pulls off of those diamantiums, and I've actually gotten H. Elisane and Lily from dailies. So it's definitely different for everyone, I feel like.
Wow, Jack, you're
I
so
have
lucky.
gotten
I'm sorry
So,
to be
I mean,
flexing my luck here, but
based
Hey
on the
guys, Chief to
percent.
Play player here. I pulled Lily and H. Ellison off a daily
I
deal.
mean,
Should I quit the game? I
I
really
mean,
don't.
you are due a 5-star from a daily summon at least, or around I think once a month based on the rates. That I think I did the math in my head a while ago, so someone's gonna bound to correct me. I myself from daily summons have pulled a hawk and a 5-star Wyrmprint, so I mean that's not as impressive, but you can get lucky. Definitely do the daily summon if you have money to buy Diamantium.
I would say that our overwhelming, I think, opinion is that yes, you should pull on the banner. The 5-stars are good. The 4-stars are amazing. If you need fire units and you want Phoenix, definitely go for this banner.
yeah.
I think it's I wouldn't say overwhelming yes. Like I said, I think it's a yes if you're willing to spend money. If you're more on the free to play side of things, you can definitely save up and just use Melsa.
Yeah, not like completely broken units, but like if you don't have good fire units, I think it's worth.
Yep.
The main thing is that everyone and their mother re-rolled for Albert Einstein, also known as Ezlith. during the early parts of the game. So, I mean, just like Clock said
Not
earlier, if you
me.
have Ezlith or Bakoto or an already existing 5-star fire unit, I wouldn't really recommend to pull, but I feel like I'm in the minority when it comes to that. So basically, we're telling you to think about what we said, and also really think about what works best for you, and then to make
And
an
think with
educated
your
guess.
galaxy brain, and your galaxy brain is telling you to pull. Sorry. Anyway.
What was that?
That was my galaxy brain telling me to get my credit card out so I can get a hot Arab dude hushbando.
That was me making a hand motion to Reala. He can't see me right now, but that was like, cut that part out in the final version.
Well, I mean, we'll see what happens. We're gonna upload that podcast, and no one's going to know what gets cut out or what gets added in.
Oh
the-
boy.
God,
that's the
God
magic
only
of
knows
me
the
being the
things
tech
we've
boy.
said.
It's the magic of
Imagine-
You don't
RNG.
even know half of what we talked about in this podcast.
Oh man, we really missing that middle section where we all just
Yeah,
like
check out what are we called again?
go to our
Dragon's
Dragon
Patreon.
Roost.
Dragon's Roost After Dark edition.
Go to Dragon's Roost Patreon, and
Woohoo.
just for $5 a month, you can see the uncut episode of this podcast.
All right. Hello. This is where I step in as the host and say, cut it out. Okay. Guys, before we end the show,
And gals.
guys and gals, sorry. Before we end the show, there was one topic that we all kind of wanted to talk about when we were doing, like, our pre-show notes and whatnot and our discussions. What's the deal with Wyrmprints? And I think
It
this
sucks.
is,
I'm sorry.
this is kind of the issue plaguing the game right now. And I know I'm using hyperbolic terms like plaguing, but honestly, it's all I think about. I can't
Awake
sleep at night.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the guy with
I
all
know-
the characters.
And I
Oh,
know when the
sure.
clock strikes 2 and I do my daily deal and I see that rainbow, it's just gonna be that shitty box. And that opens
Wow.
up into a
I like
Wyrmprint.
how you're like, I'm gonna see a rainbow tonight. All right.
Someone
But-
I know in another server actually made an emote of a rainbow becoming a wormprint, and I laughed really hard. that was pretty funny.
Alright, so, I mean, I'm going to put in my input as a baby beluga whale, as I self-proclaim call myself.
Aww.
A baby beluga whale. Wyrmprints are a
That's
real
cute.
issue, right? So you look at those math, right? And you see that math, and you see that 4% 5-star rate. You're just like, whoa, that's actually not that bad. I've played worse gachas. Fake Grand Order. It has terrible summoning rates. I never get the card I want. Oh my gosh, right? And then you try playing Dragalia, and you see those rainbows. Your eyes open up wide. You're getting ready, right? You hear that Dalco music in the background. You're getting in the mood. And it's like ba 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 love and die, right? And then you see that square box, that's rainbow, and then you just start losing all hope of ever getting a good pull in Dragalia Lost. So I'm a baby beluga.
Oh, I felt that so hard.
Yeah, I only have 4
Yeah.
5-star units, and
So
You know,
I think the main issue is that literally when you get a rainbow, you have a 50% chance of getting a Wyrmprint. Now, Wyrmprints would be fine. Honestly, Wyrmprints would be completely fine if it were not for the one mechanic that kind of ruins it all. Every event and High Midgard have their own Wyrmprint that you need to use. And if you're not using the event Wyrmprint, you're using a 2-star Wyrmprint called Dragon Arcanum to get Dragon Shift prep. So you're either using a 2-star Wyrmprint or you're using an event Wyrmprint.
Excuse me, I'm using King's Countenance and Dragon's Nest, so you're wrong.
Well, whatever it might be, it's just that Wyrmprints don't seem to really have a use outside of like daily content, and even then, you could just get away by using Plunder Pals for almost everything. And outside of very, very specific niches, and that's like Together We Stand with Xander, there doesn't seem to be a real purpose for Wyrmprints to exist, other than to dilute the pool and make the rates seem better than they actually are.
So, are you done on your rant?
I mean, yeah.
I just have a lot to say, and I need some time to say it.
It's
Go
just
for it,
that
Clux.
it comes from a dark place, you know. deep wellspring of hate.
Issue number 1, resetting the pity rate. It doesn't feel good to see that rainbow turn into a Wyrmprint that will reset your pity rate when you're looking for a character or a dragon. Because Wyrmprints, yeah, they have good effects, but if you level one up, they don't give you that much increase in stats. Second, what Sam pointed out, we're usually using event Wyrmprints, so even the fancy Wyrmprints you do get don't see much use outside of, like the content you're usually doing. Third of all, what was I gonna say? So during Halloween, I got a 5-star featured event Wyrmprint. So it came with extra trick or treats, which was nice, and it did have 2 Wyrmprint stats. And this is kind of a smaller gripe than the other things, but I got Witch's Kitchen, and that gave it gave HP full, gives you skill damage, and it had, wait for it, blindness resist, while the event was based on curse. So
Oh
if
my
they're even gonna
gosh.
dilute the pool with limited 5-star featured Wyrmprints, they could at least make them useful for the event they're being used in. Anyways,
Wow.
that's the thing I find most irritating is the pity rate. If it didn't reset the pity rate, I wouldn't care as much, but that's my take on Wyrmprints.
So I'm gonna play like kind of semi devil's advocate here, and I'm not saying that the Wyrmprint system isn't flawed, but I have to say that Wyrmprints actually bring some new like stuff into the game, because like if you think about it, a lot of these Wyrmprints are like have very different aspects. For example, I don't know if a lot of people know about this, but there's a 4-star Wyrmprint called the Warriors, which basically is Xander's like passive, where he gets increased damage output, I believe, um for his 4 strike, uh and then that's really good with Xander. But like if that wasn't a card, then like I wouldn't have that extra buff with him, and like I wouldn't have that like synergy going for him. So I definitely feel like while the Wyrmprint gotcha system is flawed in a lot of ways, I think the Wyrmprint system actually is pretty interesting.
But you wouldn't be able to use this Wyrmprint in High Brunhild, or you probably wouldn't be using it in like the Fraganoth raid if you had
Well,
Xander back then.
yeah, for sure. I agree with Clocks. I agree with your statement that like the Wyrmprint needs to be a bit more useful, because the one that I mentioned was actually it's a 4-star Wyrmprint, so it's not the best in terms of like how much more might it gives your characters, but I can feel like they can do a lot more with the Wyrmprint system, and I hope they do change it, but in like a good way.
I think I could hop onto that in that, in its essence, the Wyrmprint system is good, but it's just a very poorly implemented system.
And yeah, on paper it's gonna anger a lot of people, and I feel like that's the issue.
Yeah, but Cygames, please fix Wyrmprints. The concept is good.
What a
Like,
call to action.
yes, a
Fix
call,
this thing I don't
a
like.
call to action.
Mhm.
We're gonna give the last word to Reala, though, on this issue.
So, the Wyrmprint problem has been a huge topic of discussion in the Dragalia Lost community, and I think it would be kind of good to discuss at a later time what issues could be solved with like maybe like a new gacha system for the Wyrmprints. So stay tuned here on the Dragon's Roost, where we'll be talking about more about how to solve the Wyrmprint system in the future.
And with that, that's our first episode of the Dragon's Roost. First of all, I want to thank my co-hosts,
Easy clap.
JakChoy,
Hey,
Yay, Jack.
I'll ban you if you don't listen to this podcast.
Whoa.
Clock Sprocket, aka
Honey?
Clock, and our sound intern, Reala.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and thank you for putting
Be
up
sure
with.
to follow, like, subscribe, comment, and ring the bell.
Don't forget to feed your dragons every day. It's what raises their bond level. You can get some free Wyrmite by accessing their dragon stories.
Okay, Riella.
Yes. Okay.
We're done here. See you next time.
See you next time.